guitar amps, but I have one favourite, and it is my 1974 Silverface Twin. It has two Celestions in it and it just sounds great, so I'm going to feature it here. I hope you like the video. This amp was originally a Fender Super 6. Now, a Fender Super 6 is the same amp as a Fender Twin, but in a large cabinet with 6 10-inch speakers. It was a really good amp and I loved it. But anyway, I was playing in a band and my mate said, who was the bass player? He said, I can put bass through this and you can put guitar through it at the same time. It won't hurt it. Well, it did. And we ruined 2 of the 10-inch speakers. So I tried to get replacement speakers, but this was back in about 1981, 1982, and it just wasn't possible, at least in Australia at that time. The shop that I went to, which was Smithy's in Neutral Bay, said they had an old Fender Twin cabinet with no speakers, but that they could sell me some Marshall speakers, which were so much better than any Fender speakers or any other speakers you could buy at the time. That's what they told me anyhow. So that's how this amp was born. Looking back, the money I spent, I could have fixed the Super 6 and bought a second-hand Twin. But you don't know that when you're younger. Putting Celestions into a Twin was one of the mods that people used to do back in the 70s. So it was this was the standard thing you would do to a Twin that when the speakers gave out. This is a 1974 model, and as such it has the push-pull distortion and the master volume, which Twins before this model didn't have. So when Fender brought out their Silverface 68 custom reissued Twin, it was almost like recognition that this amp that I have is much better than people thought it was. The Silverface Fenders, let's face it, have been rubbished by so many people, and very unjustly. But if you look at some old clips, you can see the Beatles, the Doors, Janis Joplin and the Holding Company and Peter Green were all using Silverface Twins or Showmans. So there was some great music made on these amps. So let's look over this one and let's play some guitars through it because it sounds great. This Twin has 4 6L6 tubes, but it is rated at 100 watts rather than 80 watts, which is what Twins are rated at now. It has 2 channels, a normal and a vibrato channel. The normal channel has a volume, bass, middle and treble controls, and a bright switch, and 2 inputs. The vibrato channel has a volume, a treble, middle and bass, and then reverb. It then has the rate and intensity controls for the vibrato. It has 2 inputs and a bright switch as well. The volume control on the vibrato channel is actually a gain control, or that's what we would call it now. And finally, it has a master volume with a push-pull distortion switch. The speakers are 2 Celestion G1280s from around 1980. The 6L6 tubes are new groove tubes. The 12AX7 tube in position 1 is a vintage RCA long black plate tube. It's a sort of low gain tube. It is only used by the vibrato channel. The amp is heavy and it has casters to make it easy to move around, and it also has the fold back legs on each side so you can lean the amp back so it's almost like a fold back. It's an original 240 volt amp. Celestions make the amp much brighter and edgier, but are also quite bassy. This is not a high gain amp. With the gain or volume control up full on the vibrato channel, you get a very soft distortion, so it sounds like the amp is up louder than it is. When you pull out the push-pull distortion control, you get a much more sort of edgy sound. It's like a basement sound, if I had to describe it. To me, that's what it sounds like, a basement sound. I'm going to use my Strat and do a comparison between the Twin and the Super Champ, and I will be using the Twin presets and the basement presets on the Super Champ. that's my Fender Silverface Twin with the Celestions. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.